Good day folks, welcome to my channel. I'm gonna do a small project. I'm gonna install an external air breather on this RSD air filter. Now I'm gonna try and show you what I attempt to do closer. Now I've got these couple spaces here, and obviously once I strip this out, you'll see there are a couple bolts with holes that allows the air to come from the cylinders into the air filter area. And what I intend to do is to drill these spaces, this one here and the back one, and run some poly tube. I think I'm going to go with poly tube rather than just a rubber hose. I think the poly tube is a little bit smaller and a bit tidier, so I'm going to attempt to do with a poly tube and run then towards the bottom of the engine, run the poly tube through here and down to the bottom into a catch can. I'm not really sure how this is gonna turn up. I've never sort of attempted to do this in the past, so it'll be an interesting task, especially with these air filters. I've got a nice see-through glass, and the last thing I want is this thing to fog up with oil, mist and whatever. So I'll sort of record bits and pieces as I go through the project. Now here are some of the pieces that I may need for this external breather. Now I've got a couple 1/8 BSB polytube fitting. Now this takes a 532 polytube or 4mm. Either one should do the job. I'll need a pilot drill, say 3/16, and then the correct drill for the tapping. This I think for memory is an 1132. Also I've got some small pieces of 532 polytube, but I'll need to get some more perhaps, I'm not sure yet. And then the Y connector. Now, I'm not sure if I'll go with this one or whether will I go with a T-piece. I'll just have to wait until I get to that stage and see what looks better, because obviously these will go on either of those connectors, one on each. Polytube will run down into a fitting like so, and then from here down to the bottom into the catch can. Also, you probably need, you're only going to have, I think I should have one here in this kit. 1/8. Okay, there's a 1/8. There's a 1/8 BSP or NPT. I've got to just find, I'll have to make sure this is the correct pitch. But yeah, that's the thing that I'll need to do the thread on those two spaces. For now anyway. I'm sure there'll be other things on the way. Okay, we'll catch you a bit later. Alright, I'm gonna try and show you how this system in its standard configuration works. So we've got air coming from the cylinders, obviously front cylinder, rear cylinder, it comes through up this section where the spacer is, and the bolt that I was talking to earlier, it's got a hole in the middle, so whatever excess oil comes from the front cylinder will end up through this bolt into this plastic or rubber grommet that fits over the bolt head and making its way into the carburetor manifold and back into the system. So that's how it recycles. The same thing happens with a rear one. Now the idea that I have in mind is to, I can get the little socket. I'll just leave that hanging there for now. The idea is to still utilize the original bolt, but I will need to drill a hole somewhere in this area of the shaft, the bit that has got no thread. Drill probably the same size hole as that one, just on the on this surface, and block this end of the bolt. Just block that. The so-called spacers, I will drill that and tap to accommodate this 1/8 and an NPT thread, like so, and obviously the poly tube then will commence from there downwards. And that's the idea. Okay, welcome back. Now I've got the spacers completed. I drilled, tapped, and nipples inserted. I decided to go with a quarter poly tube instead of the 532. Gives me a bit better flow, just in case. I thought the 532 was a bit too fine. Anyway, I am going to put all this together. Also the bolts drilled on the side, just there, as you can see, and blocked this side. So this is automotive silicon, so that should do the job. And yeah, that's about it. I'm just going to put all this thing together and then see how it all looks. All right, back again. Finished installing the filter. I'm just going to show you how this looks. So you've got the rear spacer with the 1/4 inch nipple just coming out down that way. Same with, if I can get an angle, yeah, same with this one here, the front cylinder, the nipple going down, and underneath you have the T-piece just here, right? So those two connect onto it, and down this way through, and I've tied it up with the carburetor drain hose, so they're all together, nicely neat, put away. So yeah, looking good. I'm happy with that. So anyway, if you guys think this video was of benefit to you, you can always press the like and subscribe, do all those nice things that help us yeah, move on. Thank you for that. We'll catch you later.